The film begins in a quaint French town where a shocked crowd gathers at the cemetery. People who had once been dead inexplicably return to life. As the number of resurrected grows, the town council learns that this is a global phenomenon, with 70 million individuals revived worldwide. In their town alone, over 13,000 people are resurrected in just 2 hours. The council discovers the revived are those who died within the last decade, with most being over 60. Remarkably, all appear in perfect health, free of their prior ailments. To manage the influx, community centers and warehouses are converted into shelters for identification and reunification with families. The returned are reinstated as citizens, though reintegration is expected to take months. Police and military organize the shelters following UN protocols, dividing the returned by age and gender. Among them is the mayor's late wife, Martha, whom he refuses to see, sending her to their home instead. Council member Am and his wife, Veroni, visit a shelter to find their son, Sylvan, who died years ago. When reunited, they are stunned to see he hasn't aged. They're offered the choice to take him home or leave him in the shelter. At the mayor's house, Martha greets him warmly, acting as though no time has passed. Elsewhere, Rachel struggles with the idea of seeing her husband, Matu, who died in a car crash 2 years prior. Though alive again, she's unsure about letting him back into her life. At the shelters, Matu is restless and must be reminded to sleep. Rachel avoids him, feeling uneasy around the returned, including one working in the cafeteria. As the days pass, challenges mount. Housing shortages and unemployment are pressing issues as the returned struggle with sluggishness and limited communication. Doctors liken their symptoms to post-concussion effects, but note that employment seems to improve their condition. Mata resumes his job as an architect but struggles with lethargy, only engaging when prompted. Matu's slow, deliberate speech frustrates his co-workers, though he continues to observe Rachel from afar. One afternoon, Rachel notices Sylvan standing motionless in a bush, staring blankly. Veroni retrieves him, sending him back to play. Am offers to have Sylvan live with them, but Veroni declines, clearly uneasy. The council also addresses the troubling behavior of elderly returned, who wander aimlessly and put themselves in danger. Experts believe this stems from a need to seek familiar places. Dr. Gard develops a sedative to manage their restlessness, though he warns it would cause severe side effects in humans. Soldiers are also equipped with tranquilizer darts containing the drug. One night, while observing the returned, Gard notices some pretending to sleep. He spots Madhu sneaking out and follows him to his office, where a group of returned casually holds a meeting. Gard learns these nightly gatherings are routine. Meanwhile, Rachel, heading home from work, realizes Matu is following her. Mather speaks, and they silently walk together to her house. Gard, now studying Matu's behavior, discreetly observes them. At home, Rachel's discomfort around Matu prompts her to retreat to her room. Elsewhere, the mayor hosts a party to reintroduce Martha to their family. Though Martha seems delighted to see everyone, she declines food, claiming she's never hungry at night. At one point, she suddenly turns as if responding to an unheard sound and heads into the garden. Her caretaker reveals that Martha spends most of her days aimlessly wandering the yard. When the mayor tries to guide her back inside, she brushes him off and continues walking, briefly stopping to greet her granddaughter. That evening, Rachel finally gathers the courage to speak with Matu. Their conversation grows more personal, leading her to kiss him. They end up in an intimate moment in the living room, completely unaware that Gard is observing them through the window. At the next council meeting, the focus shifts to the return's unusually low body temperatures, which cause them to appear as eerie white silhouettes on thermal cameras. To investigate their mysterious nocturnal gatherings, the council deploys thermal cameras attached to balloons to track their movements. Initial reports reveal that the returned cover about 9 miles per day, regardless of age or physical condition. While older individuals move more slowly, they remain relentless, pausing only when necessary. The cameras also confirm that nighttime meetings are a widespread occurrence, though any underlying patterns remain unclear. As discussions in the council continue, the mayor notices Rachel quietly leaving the room. Over the following days, the elderly returned persist in their habit of wandering aimlessly. Meanwhile, Rachel grows increasingly comfortable with Matu, appreciating his presence in her life again. She begins to question her attendance at council meetings as their discussions about the returned make her uneasy. With the arrival of summer, Matu struggles with the heat and eagerly seeks relief by swimming whenever he can. In contrast, Veronique watches her son, Sylvan, playing outside with growing discomfort. One day, an elderly return disrupts Sylvan's game, causing it to escalate uncontrollably. Alarmed, Am intervenes to restore order. Veronique hastily retreats indoors, visibly shaken. One night, Rachel hears a noise and steps outside to investigate. She finds Gard lurking near her home, claiming he wants to help her cope and that he understands what she's going through. He mentions Matu's nightly trips to the office, but Rachel dismisses it as her husband's difficulty sleeping. After sending Guard away, she returns to find Matthew awake, asking if she had been talking to someone. She denies it. At work, Matthew's boss notices his reports becoming incoherent. When he attempts to explain the errors, Matthew fails to understand, leading to his demotion to a factory position alongside other returned workers. In a subsequent council meeting, doctors reveal a groundbreaking discovery that returns semblance of normal behavior as an act of mimicry. They merely imitate human actions based on memories of their past lives. As a result, their capacity for responsibility is minimal, and they can only learn rudimentary tasks with extensive training. The council faces a tough decision, whether to isolate the returned from society or integrate them into highly specific roles. One night, Matthew sneaks out again, this time unnoticed by Rachel. Guard follows him and witnesses a secret gathering where the returned discuss routes and plans, pointing at maps. Meanwhile, Sylvan becomes increasingly agitated, banging on the front door of Am and Veronique's apartment in a desperate bid to leave. Veronique suggests enrolling him in the government's special education program for returned children, believing he frightens other kids. Am, distrustful of the council, refuses. As tensions escalate, Veronique tries to administer another sedative dose to Sylvan, but he angrily resists. Frustrated, Veronique laments that their son seems to want nothing more than to leave them, as though he had never truly returned. Elsewhere, Martha attempts to climb over the garden fence using a chair, but is stopped by the mayor. Concerned, he confides in Rachel, admitting he locked Martha in her room the previous night out of fear. Rachel, unwilling to discuss her own situation with Matthew, walks away. At work, Matthew begins experiencing vivid flashbacks of the day he died, recalling a fight with Rachel that led him to recklessly speed away in his car. Consumed by guilt, Rachel seeks out Guard, who shows her footage of Matthew's first post-return interview. While Matthew seems sharp in recalling details from his past, he struggled with spontaneous speech and failed to grasp that 2 years had passed since his death. When Rachel asks how she can help her husband, Guard bluntly states that Matthew will never be normal again. Frustrated, she storms out only to discover upon returning home that Matthew is gone. At Ames' house, Sylvan gazes out the window at an elderly returned in the yard. Meanwhile, the mayor wakes to find Martha sneaking out, though she convinces him to return to bed. She later joins a gathering of returned in the park. A security guard attempts to disperse the group, but they ignore him. Suddenly, explosions erupt across the town, setting fires and plunging the area into chaos. The returned abandon their homes, converging on a tunnel, the culmination of their secret meetings. Matthew observes them but decides to return home instead. The mayor finds Martha among the returned and drags her into his car. As the group surrounds the vehicle, Martha implores him to let go, suggesting he join them. In that instant, the mayor dies and becomes a returned himself, walking hand in hand with Martha into the tunnel. Hours later, the news announces that no casualties occurred during the explosions, but a nationwide curfew is now in place. Authorities warn citizens not to search for the returned, whose whereabouts remain unknown. Desperate, Sylvan leaps from a height in another escape attempt. Am, believing his son has died again, is relieved to see him unharmed, but devastated as Sylvan walks away to join the other returned. Determined to regain control, the military deploys chemical grenades designed to render the returned comatose permanently. A group attempting to reach the tunnels is intercepted and gassed, collapsing one by one, including Sylvan. Meanwhile, Matta returns home and confesses to Rachel the truth about the day he died. After their argument, he got left work early to apologize but crashed while searching for her. Overwhelmed with guilt, Rachel breaks down only to be interrupted by Guard breaking into their apartment. Fleeing through a window, Rachel follows Matthew into a tunnel. After wandering in the dark, she bids him a tearful goodbye. Rachel returns alone, witnessing soldiers transporting unconscious returned back to cemeteries, laying them atop their graves, where they slowly vanish. Make sure to subscribe and enable notifications for more stories like this. Thanks for watching.